Give me some specifics. Give me a couple things that the average mortgage broker, they're in their day to day, either in the office or at home. A couple live world examples you can recognize. And then let's talk about a tool that you could use, something where they don't have to go off and learn, right? And I know it goes a lot deeper than this, but I want to give some people something to chew on enough so that maybe they want to go do the research themselves and go down the path you went to some degree.
What's a situation that one of your brokers came to you recently with where they were really feeling the state of stress?
You had a file that clients you've worked with in the past and everything was all great. You worked with them. Then all of a sudden, 2 weeks before close, and you spent 6 months working with them, showing different scenarios. 2 weeks before close, they come to you and they go, hey, RBC's hit us with 369. I have a 404. Oh my God, I did all this work, blah, blah, blah. I'm so stressed. And now we're in the rate game. Buy down doesn't even work. And you're just sitting there going, how am I going to feed my family? And you start losing your confidence. And you're like, is this the new industry? How do I overcome that moving forward? How do I learn from it? But that's the most common one I see right now, is getting crushed by the bank at the last second from clients you thought you were going to be working with.
I've had many brokers come up to me with that same scenario. In fact, just on Thursday, I had a broker come up to me and call me and be like, everything's falling apart. My whole day is falling apart. What time was it? It was like 1:00 in the afternoon.
You can't do your social. You can't do all the productive things you do in your business because you're just like, oh man.
Yeah.
Like, why even bother?
This is serious stuff. Like, we don't need to get into the actual examples, but like, when she was telling me, I was like, oh my God, yeah, you got some serious issues here. You know, she's been taking my coaching and she knows the tools, she knows the work. And so I gave her the material. She went and she did the work, and then called her later that day. And I said, so how did the rest of the day go? And she said, you won't believe this. I did everything you told me to do. And within an hour, it was all solved. It's very simple. But just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. But it is simple. Tool number 1, awareness. In science, it's called metacognition, the act of observing self.
Let's go with awareness.
Awareness. Number 2, stop. You got to stop the process of stress. When you're in a state of stress, you're in a state of survival. Survival is what the body innately does when it perceives a danger in your external world, okay? And when that happens, the sympathetic nervous system kicks off. That's our fight or flight nervous system, and you're in a state of fight or flight, right? And the whole system dysregulates in order to protect the body. Your salivary juices shut down, your heart rate increases, your respiratory rate increases. All the blood is shut down to your internal organs and shunted out to the extremities to prepare to run, fight, or hide. It's not a time to digest food. This is why people get digestive problems when they're constantly in a chronic state of stress, because your organs are literally out of blood and shut down so that you can run, fight, or hide. Not a time to digest food, not a time to think creatively about the problem that you just described that we have every day in our industry. It's not a time to do anything but to run, fight, or hide to survive. So when that happens, there is a whole process, a neurological and a biological process that happens. In short, a chemical messenger is sent from your brain to your body, down your spinal cord, to excrete adrenaline into the body, cortisol into the body. And that's in order to generate that amount of energy that you need to run, fight, or hide. Problem is, you're not out, fighting a lion or anything like that. You're literally sitting on your couch or whatever. And so once it excretes that adrenaline in the body, the brain is checking with the body and goes, you're really angry. Let me create more thoughts on how you're feeling, and you end up into this thinking feeling loop, that spiral or cycle of survival, I like to call it. And now you're just kicked off and you can't think creatively. You know where I'm at, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So then that chemical of adrenaline only lasts in the body for roughly around 90 to 120 seconds. So if we can just stop, so we can become aware that we're in that state of stress, we're in survival mode, and we can just stop the thoughts from activating the chemical messenger to excrete more adrenaline, which then influences more of the same thinking, and we're in that cycle of survival. If we can just stop the cycle of survival for 1.5 to 2 minutes, long enough that that chemical messenger no longer excretes more adrenaline, then we can go on to the next phase, step number 3, which is breathe. Okay? And so while we're stopping, we want to breathe. And it's a really simple breath tool we can give to the group before we're done our call. And we're going to breathe. And that breath takes generally around 90 seconds, coincidentally. and the whole system slows down. Your brain waves slow down, your heart rate slows down, blood goes back into your internal organs, and the whole body moves from a state of dysregulation or incoherence to regulation, to balance, to harmonization, to coherence. And when we're in a state of coherence, you can now think creatively. And that's where solutions can start to come. That's right.
It comes in and they just keep going, which then the 90 to 120 seconds just keeps cycling through and just more adrenaline and more. And you're sitting there and you're just stay in that state. Whereas if you would have just stopped, go in a corner, maybe we give some best practices around that, but you just, and then you start breathing, like you said. So you're saying that quickly you can recenter yourself.
100%.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's why I get so fired up about this work, because we don't have to be doing the same old stuff. We don't have to be in this state of survival in this industry. It does not have to be this way. Learn a few bits of it, how your brain and your body work. That gives you the knowledge that you need in order to actually become aware you're in the state, to be able to stop, breathe, and change. Change is the reframe. Change is shifting from that state of survival to a state of creation, right? To being in the zone and when you're in flow, if you will.
And how many people, because I coach on a lot of, sales, marketing, a lot of stuff where you need to tap into the creative part of your brain with social media, scripting, all that stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people, the brokers, they have all these great intentions and it goes in the calendar and they're feeling it and blah, blah, blah. But then the shitstorm of a day happens in our industry. It is every day. You're drinking from a fire hose and it comes in, but they don't have the tools like that. So the adrenaline's pumping and they stay in that state. And then they look at their calendar and they're like, oh, now I got to create content. And the brain can't even get there. And then all of a sudden they just go, I'll do it tomorrow. And they shut down. And then tomorrow comes and they don't do it. And then you check in 2 weeks later and they've done 2 pieces of content, even though they know they should build a brand on social media. But when you reverse engineer it all back, it was they set themselves up to fail because they didn't have the tools, to recognize the awareness and then the tools to change the state.
That's right.
I'm starting to see it now. I never understood the disconnect on some brokers on how they can't perform prospecting, creativity stuff, social media. I've never got that because I'm just like, I think I naturally do what you say. So I can always get back to my regular state. The average person I'm dealing with can't. They're not equipped. They haven't heard this. And so they're never going to go down that path. And then their business suffers, which then just stockpiles back on to the stress. And then you have this whole loop that just keeps going. Interesting.
And so we call that a refractory period. A refractory period is the amount of time between when you have an emotional response to when it's over.
Can we name it something else? Refractory period? Can we name it something cooler?
Sure. What do you want to call it?
I don't know.
The wily period. Get all wily.
Okay, we'll do refractory. But you're saying that's what it's called, from awareness to back to regular state.
To when it's over. So the refractory period, depending on the individual, can last for hours, days, weeks, months, years. And so when it's days or weeks, we call that a mood. Somebody's like, oh, I'm in a mood, just give me a moment, right? If that refractory period lasts for weeks or months, it's called a temperament.
I got you. If untreated, you're telling this it is. If it's treated, then that refractory period is much smaller.
If it's treated, we can shorten the refractory period. Otherwise, that person's going to be in that state for months or years. And you're going to be like, why are you this way? I'm this way because of that thing that happened to me 4 years ago, and I haven't been able to change back since. That's where this industry is. We are in a long-standing refractory period where stress has become the norm, and now the industry is burning out as a whole.